Hello and welcome, everybody. This is the Web3 podcast from Strategic Impact. I'm Gabor, my partner in crime, Zoltan. We are here to talk about all the news about the Web3 trends. And as I promised in the previous episode, we will talk about NFT launches because it's a tricky thing, honestly. Many people are considering nowadays to start his own NFT collection, but it's a pretty difficult thing actually. And we can see some really good and really bad examples in the market. So I've seen many people who burned himself with underestimating the effort that's need to be put inside of a proper NFT collection launch. And I see that many new studios are coming to the space and trying to give advices, and they are sometimes giving bad advices. So now our idea is that to put together everything, all the most important 7 steps into 2 episodes, and just give you a better overview about all of these things. Are you in? Hope so.
Yeah, absolutely. So as in the last couple of months, the NFT space has been absolutely booming, right? And now more and more people are trying to get in, and I'm getting the question more and more that, hey Zoltan, how do you actually start rolling your own NFT collection? And my answer is pretty much always the same. As you said, there is like 6-7 steps that you have to like seriously follow, depending on what you want to achieve, and it's really a complex thing to actually execute successfully. Not to mention, it requires a really big involvement from the team's part. And I already said it. You usually need a team to run a successful big NFT collection, and of course, it's also going to be quite costly. So you have to think about how you are going to finance your marketing, your roadmap, and all of that stuff.
Yeah, and let's just summarize these 7 steps we are talking about. First is the value creation. It's mostly about your roadmap, your execution, and your team capabilities. Second is about trust, because many rug pulls are here in this space, and doxing of the team is also sometimes happening. The third step is selling out. So to be really good in this space, you need to create a proper go-to-market strategy. And it includes a social strategy for Twitter and all other channels. You need to set up a Discord server, which is not trivial at all. And you have to find out the proper FOMO and hype strategy. The fourth is the tech must be solid. I mean about smart contracts and developments. You need to do a lot of decisions here, like where you store your data, how your website is looking like, and the gas fees are really a war zone currently. And you also need to consider bots and lots of mistakes. And yeah, the fifth step is you don't want to be hacked, and you need to find out the proper mechanics to secure your wallet and assets. Otherwise, this is the Wild West, and lots of people are looking for your stuff and your fortune. The sixth step is post-minting. You have find out how you do the listings. And the seventh step is post-reveal. You have to care about your community, your floor price, communication. You have to execute what you actually put into your roadmap months before. Otherwise, you will be crucified. That's happening sometimes if you overhype yourself. So this is the 7 steps, and let's just start with value creation. And when we are talking about value creation, the first and most important thing is roadmaps. And the roadmaps are changing a lot. Do you remember the first version of the base C roadmap?
Yeah.
I mean, Bored Ape Yacht Club.
it was nothing basically. Like the first items contained like line items that said like we will pay back the money that we owe to our mothers or something similar. The entire roadmap was not very serious. I think the most prestigious or prominent item there was basically do some physical merchandise. It was nothing really special. At that time, there was not much competition though. They were one of the first ones. They were one of the first ones who really understood how to do a big hype on social media. And everything that is happening around it today, the private clubs and everything that is being built around it is way beyond the original thought of roadmap. So they are putting these new ideas together now, and it is evolving now. But in the original premise, this was nowhere to be seen really.
Yeah, but to be honest, they had the advantage of the first movers.
Exactly.
Nowadays, you can't do that. If you start a roadmap like this, people will, whatever.
I mean, I see projects trying similar roadmaps every day, but the problem is that today that means no value anymore. Like you can see hundreds of different versions of the bored ape, or I don't know, mutant ape, or smoking ape, or all kinds of versions of the same theme, or even with attempts in new metas like anime versions. But most of them now just don't work if they don't have a really solid value creation behind it. Because it seems that pure art is not enough anymore for the NFT investors. Because let's face it, everybody right now in the NFT space is there to actually make money.
Yes.
At least anybody who is buying. It's all about prestige, or it's all about making money, flipping NFTs, owning something that will have value in the future. So you try to invest. It's not just about art anymore, and I have a lot of problems with framing it as an art, even though that was like the entry drug, the gateway drug to get into NFTs. But you need today much more. I think a very good example for that was not happening on the Ethereum blockchain. It was happening on the Solana network. Was shadowy supercoders. Remember that project? I think
Genesis Go.
Roughly in November or December.
Yeah. But this is a super important project because they want to actually improve the infrastructure of the Solana. They want to make the whole network much faster. And this is a new generation of kind of project, which is not just art. It's super important for the community and everybody who's building services and level 2 or level 3 on the top of Solana. Absolutely. And that's why the roadmap is super cool. You can find the roadmap in our descriptions below our face.
They were absolutely not about art. Like, I mean, you guys are awesome out there. Absolutely sorry for judging, but it was absolutely not art, and you can see it on the art that it was not about art. It was about the value proposition that they had to make the Solana network work faster. They have basically built like RPC servers around Solana, and the value proposition was absolutely crucial for the system. Not to mention that the team behind it was very, very credible. And I think we just arrived at the second point, that you have to have a solid value creation, a solid value proposition, which for example, shadowy supercoders had, because they had a solid product, they had a solid company, let's say, later DAO behind. They had a very, very strong model on how to incentivize the NFT holders by doing IDO later, which was very successful for them. I think they said like 15 million coins at the pricing of like $0.50 up. As as the IDO happened, it just went higher up. The NFT holders are getting daily token drops. The NFT holders can stake the NFTs. At the end of the year, they get an additional, I think, like 30% extra token drop. So there's like a very strong element of actually being part of this journey and having a strong financial benefit from it. So you could clearly see why the value of that NFT is so high. I think it's right around 80 Solana. I think the floor price right now for that project. But the second point is that they had a team who can actually execute this, right? And that is a very crucial point in your value creation, is that you can promise the world, which we see with a lot of the projects, but do you have a team who can execute?
Yeah. So just to summarize all of these things we are saying, it's also super important if you are thinking about investing into NFTs. If you're investing into NFTs, you should check two things on a project. If this has a realistic roadmap and vision, because many of the project doesn't have. I will mention a couple of examples in a minute. The other is the team. I think it's changing also, because in the past everybody had some aliases, but not anymore. Not anymore, because people are investing serious money into these projects, and if you are just the 126th whatever ape, yeah, that doesn't give credibility, doesn't give trust, and we will talk about this a little bit later about doxing. People are looking for the actual people behind. But let's just talk a little bit about vision, because in case of many projects, you can see just some things you will know that cannot be true. Like, yeah, we are building the metaverse, developing a game on it, and you can be sure about that if someone says it, it's not true. If you look around, serious AAA games are built from $300 to $400 million, and they are built for 6, 7, 8 years. That's a huge investment. That's not a hobby project. Those people are working 12, 14, 16 hours a day and rushing out big things, and they can still find some problematic releases like Cyberpunk 2077 had a year ago. They are still fixing the bugs in the project, and it's still not in the shape they wanted to release it. Yeah.
And hundreds of people are working on it, or maybe 1,000 or more.
Yeah. I remember
the adventure.
Uncharted game has even longer credit list at the end than the movie has.
Yeah, absolutely. A AAA title is extremely costly and extremely hard to actually execute on. Of course, you can create like pseudo games that look like a game, but it's more like, I don't know, like a staking type of not rug pull, but a staking type of game, or just a pixel based game. Maybe you can create the next Among Us, but you can really strongly argue how that is actually contributing to the metaverse and how successful that is going to be. Are people going to be playing with it like 2-3 years from now? And if not, then what was the value behind it? It is really tricky to actually deliver a game with a small team in a short time frame that the actual NFT space is requiring. If not, not straight impossible. There was a very nice game a couple of years ago, maybe 2-3 years ago, that was developed by a single person as a hobby project. I think it was called The First Tree. It was a beautiful, emotional game. Of course, most of the assets was bought from like the Unity marketplace, but it required a lot of things like great storytelling. It required great gameplay. It required music. It required a lot of things, and it took the developer 18 months to actually deliver that small game, which ultimately, if I'm not mistaken, resulted in roughly like $300,000 income in total, while he was putting a lot of effort into marketing and all of that stuff. So you can clearly see that like building a game is not trivial. I'm not saying it's impossible, but when you see it on every single roadmap that, okay, we are going to build a game for the metaverse, building a game and building a metaverse like from as like a product delivery challenge is extremely complicated. Of course, on the other side, there is a little bit toned down version that you see today. Like we're gonna build a game in Sandbox, which is basically creating some voxel characters, having a land, and then building some stuff on your land or in Decentraland, which is much closer to reality. But at the same time, you again have to ask, okay, so what is going to be the value behind that at this very moment?
Yes, indeed, indeed. And moving forward to the second point is about trust, and it's about credibility. And when we are talking about these things, we need to introduce some new terms like doxing and rug pulls. And as I mentioned a couple of minutes earlier, it's not happening anymore if you are hiding behind an alias. People are curious and they won't invest into your project if you don't reveal yourself. And if you don't reveal yourself, sometimes they will reveal you. And this is what's called doxing. People of internet is really resourceful.
Yeah, absolutely. It is becoming very important right now. What we are seeing in the space is that more and more, I mean, rug pulls have happened all the time. But these days it's becoming more and more common. So it is very important to show your face if you want to be credible in that space. People will trust your project inherently more if they look you up, if they can look at your expertise, if they can see that you have put some stake into it, that you can be held responsible for the entire project and the execution of that project. It will naturally bring more trust towards your project. It will be easier to invest. Of course, a lot of projects try without it. Many of them fail. Some of them become quite successful. I think recently we had a very interesting one, Squiggles. I'm pretty sure everybody heard. I think it's like a story that is like 3-4 days old, maybe 5. These guys still have actually 250,000 followers on Twitter, or something close to that number.
Yes, indeed.
That is a pretty big number. The art that they had was very subtle, very lightweight, very playful. It is looking really great. So it was quite natural for the community just to pick it up. The roadmap that they had, there was nothing extremely special about it. There's nothing that is not possible to deliver. But the team was not doxed. The project became very popular. They used a Dutch auction to actually try to sell out. If somebody doesn't know what the Dutch auction is, basically they were starting at a high value, like a mint costs 1 Ethereum, and then every 5 or 10 minutes, I think 10 minutes, they have decreased the price a little bit, until to the point that they do a full sellout of 10,000 items. And then something interesting happened. Suddenly, a document appeared on Twitter, a 60 pages document that was explaining how the funders are actually involved in other rug pulls, in other scams, which obviously got everybody panicked. There were various informations going around that they were using like shadow wallets to actually, to buy their own NFTs to create a little bit of FOMO. Ultimately, they got delisted from OpenSea, and that was the point when everything exploded. They are still on LooksRare. You can still find them. You can still buy, but the price is basically like nothing. And still we don't actually know if it was a rug pull or not. The team is trying to be very strong to say that no, it's all good. We are still here. We will deliver. But the trust is completely gone. And still, there is only one person who we know who he is. The rest of the team is still undoxed, so we don't know who they actually are. There is no trust that project is as good as that.
Yeah. The problem here is just Only one of the funders revealed himself. And the document is talking about three funders. And these three funders were involved into 8 or 9 different rug pull projects. And it's hard to find out. Maybe after several rug pulls, they decided, okay, let's do it for real. And let's do something proper.
Yeah, it
Most
could
probably
have
we will
been
never
anyone,
know.
by the way. Yeah, absolutely.
We will never know.
We will never know now, and this is why it's super important to reveal yourself. And if you looked at it from an NFT collector's point of view, you looked at this project, it was completely believable, right? Art looks great, community activity, large follower base, not over-promising at all on the roadmap. Still an interesting concept, a launchpad, giving away the rights to actually alter your NFTs and release your own collection onto that. It was completely believable. It might have been actually a real one that they wanted to do after all the rug pulls. You never know. We will never know. But there is no trust. And now you look at a project like that as a collector and you think, okay, can I trust these people?
Yeah. What's really interesting for me, they had a huge follower base. They built a huge follower base, more than 200,000 people. That comes with a lot of work, and their Discord was also huge. And usually in this NFT space, if you want to find out how promising a project is, two pretty good numbers are the Twitter and the Discord follower numbers. And in this case, we should go to our third point, the selling out, to the go-to-market strategy. And when we are talking about the social strategies is pretty important here. If we are talking about the social strategy in the NFT space, everything about Twitter. And when we are talking about Twitter, you have several different choices to make. You can approach it from several different directions. One is you are building a community organically, but it will be slow. It takes a lot of time, and this space is moving much faster than this, and you may not afford it. And this is not the way you want to go for now. So basically, if you want to go forward, there are other strategies. You can involve influencers, and you can build up giveaways as well. But to do this, you need to invest into this. This needs money, and otherwise you cannot find these kind of guys. And one thing that's really interesting here when we are talking about Twitter, you need to find out different strategies for different stages of your community. You need a different strategy when you are going from 1 to 100 followers, and next step going to 1,000, 5,000, 10,000, 50,000, and 100,000 followers. You need to change your tactics in these cases. You need something different in these cases. So, yeah, really, really tricky thing here.
Yeah, absolutely. You usually say that at different stages you need to find different levels of influencers. Go like 2-3 steps above where you are. You can't really go 5 steps. You can't go to Gary V to say that please Gary, promote our NFTs. That's not how it works. So you have to have a very solid strategy of who you are going to go to. And you, of course, you also have to differentiate between the promoters and the influencers, because promoters are like, just any kind of project. Here it is. They can be relatively cheap and promote your NFT, and you're just gonna give it reach, but without real targeting. When it comes to influencers, then you might want to look actually into the space that you are trying to get into. So, for example, if you are trying to build, I don't know, RPC servers for Solana, then try to find influencers who are more like tech people, and try to get their collaboration, try to get their advisorship, and try to get in contact with them, because you need to find your relevant audience. When you have an NFT that actually has some real value behind it, then you want to find that level of audience who you are going to resonate with.
Yes, this is super important to find that people who can be your natural audience here. You have to be really thoughtful to find out the good profiles here. Because if you choose just some random folks from all around the Twitter space, it will go sideways.
Yeah, the conversion will be nothing. That's not where you want to be.
Yeah.
Of course, you will still find the people who want to flip your NFTs. But if your goal is to build a community around your, let's say, product, then you need to find those people who want to really invest in you, who really believe in what you're doing. Otherwise, it's just going to be let's say, a flip show, if you're lucky.
Yes. We will have a complete episode about the Twitter strategies, and we will go much deeper than this. But before we just jump from Twitter, I just want to mention one really interesting tool here, which is Twitter Spaces. It's a clubhouse for Twitter, but what's really interesting here, it's integrated into Twitter, it's integrated into the flow, and you don't have to go anywhere. Where your followers are, you can talk with them. You can organize some audio discussions there. You can set up the reminders. You can find the recordings there. This is a super interesting concept here, and as far as I can see, many people in this space using it and really like to use it.
Yeah, absolutely. They are doing a lot of like ask me anything type of conversations, which is super important. It is extremely crucial to constantly engage your community. That's how you keep them. That's how you can keep them interested, and that's how you can find more of these followers, of these people who are interested in your product. And MEAs on Twitter Spaces is a very effective tool to do that. Also, it gives a voice to the picture and to some of the text that you are producing on social media. Having that level of access to the actual founders increases trust further.
The other tool is super important if you are building a community, is Discord. Almost everybody in this space using Discord. Some projects are trying Telegram, but as far as I can see, nowadays Discord is the go-to.
It's pretty much the primary channel to actually engage with the audience or with the community that you have already managed to build. So Twitter is all about piping that stream of people into your community, and Discord is about engaging them and keeping them in your project.
Yeah, and when we are talking about engagements, it's like great power comes great responsibility.
Oh, yeah.
Of course, and when we are talking about the community, especially if you have tens of thousands of people, you have to be prepared. They are all around from the planet. It's 24 hours. Someone will be active. And you really need to optimize for people from US and China, the two opposites of the world. This is a big job, and you need to be prepared for this, and you need to do some modifications on Discord to be able to handle this amount of people. Of course, there are many tools that can help you, but some good practices also needed. One practice what I recommend, especially when you are starting with Discord, don't fragment your communication into 1,000 channels. If you are starting your Discord, it's better if you start with a few channels, 3, 4, 5, not more than that. As things goes forward, organically, you will find out what are the channels those are needed and what's not. You need to be very thoughtful on this. If you fragment it, it will be much harder than to change it and delete some channels that people get used to. You can lose people this way. Uh, other thing I recommend here: learn from good project. Do your research. If you check Bankless or if you check Shadowix Supercoder Group and many other projects, they are really good on Discord. You can learn a lot from them, and they are really open. You can ask questions from them, and they will help.
Yeah, absolutely. And look at projects that are currently happening, that are currently famous, that are currently hyped. Look at their structure, how they are organizing the communities, because even that is changing in the space. I think what is very important to take away, maybe from this conversation, that the entire space is changing so fast. The best practices are also changing very fast with it, and you always have to follow what is happening right now in the space. So you really need to know your shit to be able to effectively manage your community.
Yeah, and what's really important here: always monitor their sentiment.
Absolutely.
Otherwise,
I see so many products where there is a sudden, I don't know, fear of death, or just people start to worried regarding, I don't know, floor price, regarding some of the announcements that have been made, some of the, I don't know, lack of communication that's been happening. You need to be there. You need to be there with your community. You need to hear these concerns, and you need to react to them. If you don't, the result is that it's going to escalate further. There is going to be an extreme crash of your project, of your floor price, and then the community is just going to torch you. So you have to be really aware of what's happening in your community, in your space, and you need to react to it.
Yeah, and if it's a big community, like tens of thousands of people, it's a hard job. You cannot do it alone, and you need some good tools to protect your community. One thing we can recommend is no DMs. DMs are super hard to handle. It's worth to just not have them.
Yeah, the thing is that what you all have to understand is that people who are getting into the NFT space, they are not tech experts. They are not security experts. They are actually very easy to scam people. You need to educate them. You need to protect them. You need to do your best to make sure that they don't get scammed, because that's going to be affecting your project and your brand and your presence very, very negatively. And as you said, DMs is like maybe the number one way to actually scam people, that you get a direct message: oh, we are doing minting right now, click on this link and buy your NFT, and whoops, your money is gone. So DMs are very important to disable, and to explain your community that they need to turn it off. You should not reach out to them through DMs. It can go through like a friend request thing, based on a conversation that happened previously on the channel, but never try to engage with them directly, and don't give that opportunity, because you are opening them up to a bunch of scams that you don't want to.
Yeah. And the next one is you should use verification bots. It can help you with a lot of groundwork, and you can automate them. You can find out it's helping, for example, with the onboarding of the new people into your projects. And fortunately, there are super good bots for these, like Me6 or Rick. Bots are doing a pretty great job here.
Basically, they try to keep out bots, and what you have to be aware of that is that in this space, bots are everywhere and flooding everything, and this is a good way to actually try to filter them out as much as possible.
Yeah, the other things, we want to filter out the inactive accounts. It of course it's a numbers game, but you have to be really thoughtful on this. You don't need the inactive accounts. Let's have less people in the community, but they should be active. It's
Absolutely.
really important here.
Absolutely. Also, inactive people on your whitelist. We will talk about later about whitelisting strategies, probably in our next episode. But like having inactive accounts on your whitelist are possibly taking space away from other people who would be minting. Most likely, inactive accounts won't bother that much about your project.
Yeah. The last topic I want to talk about today is FOMO and hype strategies, because there are many great strategies here. And first of these is whitelisting. And this is tricky because you are giving up seats to buy your NFTs. And this is just building up some FOMO here. And you can miss it out. And it's also happening in the hype.
Yeah, whitelisting is a very interesting tool to build up the hype and to build FOMO basically around your project. But it's very hard to give a very strict guidance on how you should do it, because it has a lot of pros and cons. And also, as I said, the space is changing so fast that a whitelisting strategy that you used in November or December or even January, now in the middle of February, it just doesn't apply anymore because people are doing it differently. I remember a time when like collections with the size of 4, 5, 6,000, they were going for very small whitelists, like 200. Maybe they had 2 pre-sales instead of just 1. Today it's very different. Today everybody's trying to sell out completely in the whitelist itself. Not completely, but close to completion. Like 80% of the supply goes through in a whitelist in a single sale. That is something that people have adopted in recent days. But it brings up completely new challenges, right? Because what if you don't sell out? What if you have a whitelist pre-sale, let's say for 50% of your inventory, and you don't sell out? Goodbye. There is not going to be a public sale anymore. I mean, you can still organize it, but nobody's going to care, right? Because you couldn't just sell out the whitelist. So your core, most engaged community members are just not that interested in your project. So that's a big failure. You have to be very smart about how you are going to decide these numbers. How many will you let mint to a single whitelist member to mint? If you just use allow for 1, then you are guaranteeing that if somebody doesn't show up, then you won't have your target number minted. If you give too much, then it can be really tricky and have a pretty bad backlash from the community itself, or you just completely sell out in a whitelist, which might not necessarily be bad, but again, it has a relatively negative tone in the community. So adjusting these numbers and coming up with the right whitelisting strategy will be different from project to project and from trend to trend. So you really have to know what you're doing here.
Yeah, and you need to be smart. The time frame is shorter and shorter because tons of new projects are starting every day, and it's stealing a lot of attention from your community. And if you are slow, you are not going forward in the right pace, they will lose interest. So that's why you cannot do the same thing that was possible in December. Nowadays, you cannot do multiple press sales. Usually you can do 1 because you won't have time for more, because there won't be the attention there. It's going somewhere else.
Absolutely. But it's still the most powerful tool you have to actually build hype around your project. Selling, giving away whitelist spots for various activities that basically helps your project and helps your community to spread the word about your project is the best way to basically get traction. Because you create a scarcity. You create something that, okay, I really want get into this project. It looks awesome. I really need to grind for that whitelist. I will do whatever these guys want me to do. I will follow them. I will retweet them. I will tag my friends. I will write a blog post article for them. I will be active on Discord to go to level 10 to have a chance to get a whitelist into your project. So it's your strongest piece of marketing inventory that you have.
Yes, and the other really powerful tool here is collaborations. You can find some other interesting projects that's in the same space with you and the same size as you, and you can do some interesting collaboration with each other. You can help each other to find the right communities and build up even bigger and bigger and bigger. That's also helps a lot, but you need to be careful here because as we mentioned before, especially with the project, which was the name? Squiggles. Yeah. If you are partnering with the wrong people, it can affect your project as well, and your project will also crash, and you don't want that.
Yeah, absolutely. So these are two very important things. One is to find collaborators at every level of your journey. So when you have a community of 10,000, you can try to find collaborations who have roughly the same numbers. Then when you reach 50,000, then you can find stronger projects that are roughly around these numbers. You also need to look at the topic that you are in. Like, are you doing anime art? Then look at other anime art projects. So find the right collaboration. And the second thing, as you said, vetting the other party is very important. And as you can see, it's not easy to actually find these potential rug pulls, but you have to do your best. You have to do your best to protect your community.
Yeah. The next really important tool you have when you are building up an NFT launch is information reveal. And you really need to be thoughtful. What information and which time are you sharing it? You need to do it step by step. And first, you start with just a few information drops and build up a bigger information as you are going forward. Many people are doing this the right way, and if you can find some really good examples.
Yeah, reveal your Discord, reveal your art, reveal your roadmap, reveal your website, reveal your team. You can build a very nice pipeline of FOMO inventory items to actually get more engagement and have the feeling that this is going to be something really cool. I'm really looking forward for the next piece of information. So this is a very important strategic element.
And it also includes the collection reveal and of course the floor price discussions, and also how you are defining your whitelisting strategy. You need to put all of these together, and this is a really tricky thing. You really need to think a lot.
Some people I've talked in the past, it was very interesting because they want to engage into the NFT collection space, and not many people actually know what a reveal is, and it was quite interesting for me. It is very important to have a reveal process in your rollout, because imagine you have a whitelist pre-sale and you don't do reveal. So everybody who mints their NFTs in the pre-sale, it will be visible what they are getting, right? You will see the art, you will see the traits, you can calculate a rough rarity based on what has been minted so far. And all that goes to a second-hand marketplace. And you have, let's say, the public mint 2 days later. Who is going to buy in the public mint? They already see your art. The floor price might have tanked already. It's not just that they're seeing your art, they're already seeing the traits. They're seeing something, that's rare. I'd rather pay for that than go into the public mint where I will probably get nothing. So you're really destroying your opportunity to do a strong public sale there. So before everything is sold out, you should not do a collection reveal.
Of course, you don't.
That keeps your floor price quite even as well.
Yes, indeed. So that's all for today, folks.
Yeah, these are just
you remember the last episode?
Yeah.
You remember the last episode? We promised that we will have 15 to 20 minutes episodes. This is a bit longer, but hope you still like it.
Information, I hope.
Yeah. That's pretty much needed in here. So, guys, in the next episode, we will talk about a lot of interesting things. We will talk about the technical part of this, which need to be solid. We will talk about here smart contract developments and all of these things. Also, we will talk about what's happening with your wallet, how don't get be hacked, and how to secure your wallet and assets. We will talk about post-minting, the listing part, and what's happening after you reveal. Lots of things are happening here. So I hope you come back for the next episode. We enjoyed this really much. See you soon.
See you soon.